Hello, Pranav sir.
Yes, ma'am.
We can start now.
Yeah. Uh, Welcome, sir. Shall we start?
Yeah, surely.
Yeah. A very good afternoon to one and all. I, Pranav Chipalkatti, on behalf of JSPM's Rajarshi Shahu College of Engineering, Department of Electronics and Telecommunication, heartily welcome you all for the third session of day 6 of 2 weeks faculty development program on artificial intelligence and its applications in biomedical engineering. Today, we have with us an eminent speaker, Dr. Vikram Bhatija, to deliver session on topic computer-aided analysis of medical images. I heartily welcome you, sir, on behalf of Department of Electronics and Telecommunication. It's my pleasure to introduce him today. Dr. Vikram Bhatija is working as an associate professor and dean academics and IQAC in Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering at Sri Ram Swarup Memorial Group of Professional Colleges, Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh. He is doctorate in Electronics and Communication Engineering in Biomedical Imaging with a total teaching experience of 17 years with around 160 publications in reputed international conferences, journals, and with online book chapter contributions, out of which 20 papers are published in SCI indexed high impact factored journals. His Scopus H index is 24. He has been instrumental in chairing and co-chairing around 25 international conferences in India and abroad as publication chair and edited 26 book volumes from Springer Nature as a corresponding co-editor author on deck. He is editor-in-chief of IGI Global International Journal of Natural Computing and Research, IJNCR, and ACM and DBLP Index Journal since 2017. He has guest edited three special issues in reputed Scopus SCI Index journals, namely Evolutionary Intelligence and Arabian Journal of Science and Engineering under Springer Nature. He has received the Certificate of Outstanding Contribution in Reviewing for year 2016 and 17 respectively in prestigious elsewhere journals like AEUE, Measurement Computer Methods and Programs in Biomedicine. He is a senior member of IEEE. We are fortunate to have you with us today. I welcome you once again and request you to start the session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Pranav, for the introduction and the good welcome. I'm thankful to RSUAE College for inviting me to this AICT-sponsored 2-week FDP on artificial intelligence in applications in biomedical engineering. So today my topic for discussion is computer-aided analysis of medical images, and this will be in specific to a research case study on breast cancer detection. Uh, I just recall that just 2 days back only, Dr. Saili also delivered a similar talk on mammographic image analysis. So I'm sure for some of them, you already have an introduction, some background to this, and remaining further part, we'll be taking it today. Secondly, why I have tried to club this up with a research case study is that we are not just to touch the theoretical aspect of the subject, but we'll try to link and correlate that how this particular domain or which are the niche areas which can be taken up for research by the eminent or budding research scholars. So with this, uh, already my works have been introduced. Just little about me. These are the different research avenues where I have worked. Image filtering, signal fidelity and quality assessment, image fusion. Also on single dimensional signal processing like EEG, ECG and EMG, I have worked upon, right? And my major focus has been computer aided analysis of medical images, that is mammograms, MRI, CT, PET scans, and ultrasound images, and focusing for the early diagnosis of life-threatening diseases. As regards my today's talk, the content resource that I'll be covering, it will be based on my recent book, which has been published in January 2020 only. This is Non-Linear Filters for Mammogram Enhancement, subtitled as a robust computer-aided analysis framework for early detection of breast cancer. So this book has been published with Springer Nature this year only in January 2020. So about the today's session, our today's session first module will focus on introduction to CAD of breast cancer, mammographic image analysis and insight. This part particularly has been taken up by Dr. Saili. So I'll be quickly taking up this section. Then computer-aided analysis of mammograms, medical image enhancement and challenges, module 1. So, and if we'll get time further, we'll focus on improvement in conventional enhancement approaches. I have 3 research problem formulations to discuss. Let's see how much we can take up in today's session, along with the results and inferences. This will be the phase of the module 2. So let's start with the introduction to CAD of breast cancer. So as we are aware that breast cancer is one of the most dangerous types of cancer, and where early detection is not an easy task. So before trying to correlate any of the studies where we have to deal with the cancer related images, let's take a quick overviewing fact that we see this very first image. This image is giving you or showing you the structure of the cancer cells when they are generally present in the body. And they are generally, you can say, not in a state where they could harm anything, but only is that they are multiplying with a, say, certain amount of rate. Now, say, after a certain amount of a transitory phase, what happens that this particular cell, you can see that there are some speculations or boundaries that start originating from outside or periphery of this particular cancer cell. So we see that its border or the edges are getting tampered. So how we perceive this as that somehow so what we called it as this is not harmful right now, but now say some part of malignancy has started entering over there. Seeing the next phase of this, we see that these growing speculations are now spreading as tentacles, and they are affecting the nearby cells. So we define it technically that metastasis has started. That means now this cancer cells have started affecting the other cells as well, or they have started mutating or multiplying with a abnormal kind of a rate. So one very bottom line extraction that we make from this basic fact is that somehow the boundary of these cells or tissues are the major predictors where we tend to come to know about the stage or severity of this particular disease. So if we once we try to relate it from image processing point of view, you can emphasize right now that somehow the edge detection or edge enhancement will have a very due coherence when we are talking about these tumors or these type of tumors visualization. So this is when this tumor has started affecting the other parts of the body. So breast cancer is any form of malignant tumor which develops from the breast cells. Generally, the age bracket is 35 to 55. Now over here, under 35 age is generally an asymptomatic domain for this type of a cancer. Generally, the symptoms are not visible easily, but they gradually starts getting visible once the patient or the candidate crosses 40 years of age, and more profusely they are visible, say after 50 years of age. But generally, when those symptoms are visible, it becomes literally too late for that particular cancer to be treated. So that's why we say that early detection is, a very, very necessary thing for proper treatment of this type of a disease. So over here, for initial screening of these breast pathological disorders, mammography is the technique. Mammography is a breast X-ray examination, and mammogram is that X-ray image. So for effective treatment of breast cancer, it is necessary that early detection should be there, so that the cancer, the tumor, should be treated at that particular stage where the metastasis has not started to the other parts or other healthy cells of the body. Now, this was the background, the biological background of this breast cancer. Now, when we are solving this from or viewing this from an engineering point of view, we use the term computer-aided diagnosis, because generally visualizing these images, working on these images by doctors and radiologists, at times, there are a lot of constraints due to poor visualization. There are lack of accuracies in diagnosis. So that is why computer-aided diagnosis is the much preferred approach, which cannot totally replace the task of the doctor or the radiologist or the medical expert, but it can certainly use as a standby method, co-pilot kind of a thing, right? Which can help in a doctor or a radiologist to make the decisions in a much accurate manner. So this is the general block diagram of a computer-aided diagnosis system. So over here, this diagram is almost we all would be familiar with. We have a medical images data in the form of a database. We are doing pre-processing, followed by features extraction, feature selection, and then there is a classifier which helps to cluster or classify or segregate the disease into harmful or non-harmful, or say cancerous or non-cancerous. Now this is the most general kind of a block diagram. Now let's see how this particular block can be further expanded to a more detailed level once we talk about, say, particularly breast cancer or mammographic images. So first of all, we have a medical image acquisition system, mammography in this case. So we get a very kind of a low contrast, poor contrast image, that is the mammogram. That is certainly because for acquisition of the mammograms, very low dosage of the X-rays are used. So because of that, these breast images or X-ray images are not that properly visible. I mean, you can't compare it with, say, the X-ray of a bone or a hand or a back, right? Because you have much higher doses of X-rays which are used over there, but comparatively very low dosage is used for the breast region. So first part is the medical image acquisition system, where we have mammogram. And when we talk about, say, computer-aided diagnosis, we have a mammography database. We'll talk about databases later. After that, there is a stage which is pre-filtering. I mean, if we have an image which is directly acquired from the acquisition system, you may require a pre-filtering. Suppose you are using a database over there, so maybe those images are pre-processed in advance, so you may not require any pre-processing over there. I mean, it all depends upon the kind of need or kind of area that we are working on. So this particular phase is known as the pre-processing module in the CAT. So once the pre-processing, this pre-filtering has been done, we have our input images ready for further processing. Now, once these images are available, generally, as I told, these mammogram images are very poor in contrast. We require a contrast enhancement module over there, because it is very important that the contrast of that affected region, that tumor region, should be properly distinguished in comparison to its background. Then only, any further analysis could be possible. After this, there is a read. that the edges should be enhanced. That particular region should be segmented from the rest of the image. And once that region is segmented, we say that there is localization of suspicious region. So, I mean, we have a full image and say we have localized or say extracted or segmented that suspicious region in which particularly we want to focus our analysis. So till here, this particular module is known as the detection module, or we call it a computer aided detection module. So the output of this particular stage is still an image, just a better form of an image, medical image, where enhancement has been done, segmentation has been done, or say that a particular region of interest, that affected region has been localized, so that now at this particular stage, a radiologist or a doctor may certainly intervene and make the diagnostic decision. So this particular stage is termed as the detection module, or what is commonly known as a computer aided detection. Now, after this, there is also another module which is known as computer aided diagnosis, where we may want that the same decision what a doctor has made, a certain same amount of decision can be made from the machine with the help of the machine vision or AI-oriented algorithms. So once that particular tumor region has been localized, useful features may be extracted from there. So that is what the outcome of a feature extraction module. Then comes feature selection, because certainly what happens is we extract a lot of features. Certainly all features may not be very useful. So they may increase the complexity of the system. So we may go for feature selection. Now, certainly this feature selection could be a manual one. This feature selection could be an automated one, right? Or this may be quite possible that there are different types of features which are acquired from different feature extraction algorithms, and one may go for feature fusion also. So not just feature selection, but say at times there is optimization of features which is required before we feed into a classifier. So next stage is a classifier, say which could be a machine learning module, a deep learner, I mean, which acts as a decision support system where you can finally work out that whether the particular image is a cancerous image or a non-cancerous image. So certainly this particular module is known as a diagnosis module, or we call it computer aided diagnosis. So over here, now, if we see this complete structure, generally as a starting researcher, if you surf literature on this particular subject, what happens that you see most of the papers which are generally focusing upon, say, this module, say where, different series of classifiers have been used, who have been, giving different types of accuracies. Certainly optimizers are installed over there, or say combination of classifiers are used over there. I mean, one way or the other, just to have a better accuracy. But certainly you don't come up with a very new proposal when you surf literature on this. So over here, I would like to emphasize that very less work comparatively has been there towards, the detection module or the computer aided detection module. Because what happens at times that these works are focused, these research works are focusing towards the classification module, say, or they are focusing towards the feature selection approach or the feature extraction approach. But certainly there is a big question over here that if a particular region, a tumor region, is certainly not visible properly, then be it, you can use a very efficient algorithm for feature extraction, certainly the true features cannot be extracted. So you may extract those features, you may get an accuracy. I mean, fairly you get a 90% accuracy, but certainly those results are not going to be viable, or those results, I mean, those machine results could not, correlate well with that of, say, a doctor's opinion. So, there will be always clash between the two. So, this is one area which is not very much touched when, research on computer aided diagnosis is concerned. So working towards enhancement of, say, mammograms or medical images is one particular domain. Why? Because, say, every different or every particular image from a medical imaging modality is a kind of a separate case. You can't just, generalize a same type of algorithm for enhancement of all types of images. If you talk about MRI, say maybe a different set of enhancement tools are required over there. If we talk about X-ray images, general X-ray images, maybe certainly different type of processing or enhancements are required over there. Even with respect to X-rays, mammogram is a very, very different case, because say over here, the image is very, very poor in contrast. So certainly much better algorithms for contrast enhancement are required over there. So once enhancement is done, you surely need to, process the edges, because as I already told you, that edges of the tumor are having a very, very, marking role for predicting the nature or severity of the tumor. Segmentation has its own domain. If people would recall Dr. Saidi's lecture, she has focused particularly on the segmentation domain and different types of segmentation and coding algorithms over there. So, just want to say that this particular domain, that is localization of suspicious regions, enhancement or segmentation of these images, are, itself a big domain. And once, you achieve good enhancement, good edge enhancement, good edge detection is there, good segmentation of region of interest is there, then certainly you may not require even a very good or very advanced, classifier over there to give you results. I mean, if the features are well extracted by a good, proper visualized image, a simple classifier or a machine learner can give you reasonable amount of good results over there, right? So this is how we differentiate between computer aided detection and computer aided diagnosis. So computer aided detection is for reducing the burden on the radiologist or the medical experts. And similarly, computer aided diagnosis is to improve the quality of the diagnosis. So what I have shown right now in the form of the block diagram, let's just see in the form how I just show a short demo over here. Like how does it looks when we talk about this type of, block diagram in practice. So just see. So when we say an input mammogram from a database, this is how a mammogram look like. Then we say that we have done some amount of pre-processing. So this is how, say, the image has changed after pre-processing. Then certainly enhancement is done. See, the background is suppressed over there. The tumor region is being distinctly visible over there. Say, certainly we have come to segmentation. That particular region of interest has been segmented, and say it has been localized. So this is the detected region of interest over which, we can have the response of a doctor or a medical expert at this particular stage. So this is what the, outlinery working of a computer aided detection system. Now coming to the second stage where we, require some type of decision making. So say this is our detected ROI. Now from this detected region of interest, say we have extracted different types of features. Now these features can be, say, mean, standard deviation, contrast, correlation, energy, homogeneity. Like, see, the idea is only that, classifier is a kind of AI tool and it cannot directly process the images. So certainly you are converting the image in the form of the numbers. These features are in the form of vectors, feature vectors, which are being, feeded to the classifiers or the machine learners. So now maybe all these features may not be of importance. there would be some features which could be redundant. So say we have used some selected features only. So this is what happens in a feature selector. Once these feature selection has been done, a vector of these different features has been created, and say this has been given to a classifier where, the decision that whether a particular image has been cancerous or non-cancerous can be made. So this is, the demonstrative working of a computer-aided diagnosis system. Coming to the next part, that is mammographic image analysis. So as I already told, that low dose X-rays are required for mammography. It is, very initial stage screening. This is the best approach which can be used. If we have a look at these mammographic images during acquisition are acquired in generally two views. One is known as the CC view, another is known as the MLO view. So this MLO view is a mediolateral oblique view where, the imaging has been done from a diagonal view. I mean, the same tumor, the same breast region is also being photographed from the top. So that is known as the craniocaudal view. So sometimes it happens that an oblique view gives you some particular tumor. Certainly that tumor is not visible in the CC view. But sometimes when the tumor is being, properly developed, it is visible in both the views. So both the views are actually important. So earlier, if you see earlier works on this domain, they were generally focusing only one type of image. If you see the recent works on these domain, what are now happening? People are taking both these images from the databases for the same particular tumor. Now, certain set of features are extracted from, say, CC view. Certain types of features may be extracted from the MLO view. And then both the features are certainly, say, optimized or fused. And then they are being fed to a classifier, certainly to obtain, better results or to get more accuracy from the computer-aided diagnosis system. So just the below figure shows you two types of images. One is, nomenclators add hard to detect image. Another is, say, easy to detect image. So this easy detection or hard detection is just, dependent upon the background of the image. I mean, if you see the tumor region is certainly same over there, but what is in the first image, you can see that there is a dense background of tissues over there. Certainly this is causing difficulty in visualization of this particular tumor region. But over here, as we see that the tissue density in the background is less, certainly it's very easier to, perceive or visualize that particular tumor. So as we have already seen, that mammography has its own limitations. Because of the poor illumination and low doses, you have high noise levels over there. And because of these problems associated with the X-ray detector, the output image affects the contrast. The signal to noise ratios over there are generally low. The spatial resolution, the sharpness of the image is also affected over there. So certainly you can see that these three parameters, which we have seen over there, these all has to be taken care once we are targeting to improve the contrast. To improve the visualization of these images. Because generally what happens, people think that when we are going in for an enhancement, it is just, a kind of a simple kind of an enhancement, which can be attained from any kind of, common available image enhancement algorithm. Certainly no, because over here, the enhancement is not just focusing towards improvement of contrast, but what is required that the signal to noise ratio should be improved. It should not be deterred further. Secondly, during the process, the sharpness of the image should be also improved, because if the sharpness is missing, certainly you cannot visualize the borders of the tumor, the edges of the tumor properly. So certainly this is a big factor in, adjudging the severity of the particular image. So that is why These mammograms are among the difficult images to be interpreted by the radiologist, and therefore you require very experienced lot of radiologists for this kind of images. Over here you can see similar mammograms, but say of 4 different categories. And if you certainly see, say from fatty one to the dense one, you see that there is a increment in the tissue density in every image. If you see this particular image, the tissue density is very, very low over there. Certainly you call it a fatty breast. Over here, the tissue density is very limited. This is, say, heterogeneously dense, and this is extremely dense. So certainly what happens that if a tumor is there in a fatty breast, it could be very, very easier to get it detected. But if a tumor is obscured somewhere in between these dense tissues, it becomes very, very difficult to detect it. So if you now try to correlate this, it is the breast region which becomes fatty, say certainly when the woman is after 40 years of age, and this tissue density is certainly very, very high, say up to 30 or 35 years of age. So this shows that detection of this particular tumor is very, very difficult. That is why at the early stages, and certainly that is why, you know, those stages are being called as asymptomatic. Why? Because these symptoms are not visible, because tumors may be growing, they might have been developing, but since they are, you know, obscured, camouflaged into the, you know, cloud of these background tissues, if any type of, you know, screening modality is used, this type of tissue, these type of tumors are not, you know, appearing, are not getting detected in any such modalities, say, be it mammography or ultrasonography. So this is how, you know, this is the relationship between the age and the density of the tumor. So from the point of, you know, research problem formulation, if you check out different papers which have, you know, somehow focused towards, say, enhancement of these medical images or mammographic images, I would like you to focus that most of the images that certainly they would have used would be certainly fatty images or the scattered fibroglandular images, because certainly you get very good results in these images. But I mean, those people would have been silent about dense images, or they won't be showing results on dense images. So I just mark it to the new researchers that certainly if you are working in this domain, I would suggest you that you should try to pick up the challenging domain where, you know, you have to, you know, pick up those images where, you know, the age bracket is very less. So certainly you get images which are with extremely dense background of tissues. And if certainly you are developing algorithm for, you know, visualization of tumor in such type of a background, then that would be definitely a very, very good contribution to this particular domain. So this is what we have already discussed, that certainly if the tumor region is almost rounded from the periphery, we call it a benign tumor. And if the border is distorted, we call it a malignant tumor. So this is why the mammograph analysis is complex one, because the most important factor which we have seen right now is the density of the tissues, because more dense the tissues are in the background, they are going to obscure the cancers because of the camouflaging of the anomalies. So if you see that this is one typical image of a dense breast, you can see that this is a predominantly white kind of a mammogram. And if you have certain tumor region being present over there, certainly, I mean, it cannot be detected with a normal imaging modality. So you will be definitely requiring some type of, you know, very good enhancement algorithm, so, you know, which can process this image, process the pixels in such a manner that you get to have a hint or visualization of that particular tumor in this thick background. this is, how a fatty breast looks like. So, detecting tumors over here is easy, but certainly at times there are challenges that fatty breasts are comparatively darker. So because of even the darker nature of those images, at times there could be visualization of the, difficulty in visualization of the nearby features also, because we are just at times not concerned with visualization or focus on the tumor region, but at times the nearby area of the tumor region is also, equally predictor, and it is equally informative regarding the severity or malignancy of the particular tumor. So this is just how you see, say, a good contrast image and a, inferior image, which is just, the difference of the tissue density. Because of the density, the tumors are not visible in this particular image. So over here, another challenge which we see in this mammograph analysis is that it is not just, the noise levels, it is not just the poor contrast, but also variety of tumors is also a big challenge in computer aided detection. If you can just see this type of a region, which you call it commonly biologically as a lesion, or we call it a mammographic mass. But actually, this particular mass is also available in different types of shapes. So now you see all these categorizations are called masses or lesions. So if you see the very first category, you can see there is a very circumscribed or a defined periphery over there. Certainly, this set of masses or lesions are likely to be benign. They are generally harmless, right? If we talk about these two, you can see the borders are tampered, borders of the tumor are tampered. Speculations are arising from the outside as if, a very clear indicative that, the metastasis has started to the other part of the body or the other part of the cells. So you call these as the speculated masses or speculated lesions. So these are likely to be malignant tumors. But there is one third category also, which is, a cause of problem. Now, at times, if you see this particular region or if you see this particular region, you may not call it certainly circumscribed or speculated one. So this is one issue where you have a lot of false positives, or you can say less accuracies when you are defining or designing a computer aided diagnosis system. What happens? Generally, our outcomes are very binary over here, that either we are classifying the image into, say, cancerous or non-cancerous. But actually there is a third category also, where, our image may not be fully cancerous, but you also cannot say that it is totally benign. So it is basically this particular category that requires further investigation. So again, suggestive thing for further research problems that, when you are working on this kind of databases for computer aided diagnosis system, try to, define the segregation into 3 categories and not just 2 categories, because things cannot be just classified in a very binary sense into, say, cancerous or non-cancerous or benign tumor or malignant tumor. So what is that there is a third category also, which requires further investigation. So this category also need further analysis, and maybe, say, after one subsequent analysis, they may turn out to be cancerous. So this is one area where, people can focus to work upon, because these are the really hard to detect cases when as far as breast cancer is concerned. So if we see, as I told you, that there is subtlety of breast abnormalities. Subtlety means the same mass, the same tumor with age progression, with time, can have different look, can have different shape, can have different morphology. So if we see, as far as the tumor region is round or oval, this is likely to be benign. Once it is like a stellate, you can see the, again, speculations are there from the outside of the boundary. This is a malignant one. But again, these two categories, which you call it a lobulated tumor or lobulated mass or a nodular mass, where we see that the boundary of that particular tumor has got tampered. It is distorted. So once the boundary or edges of that tumor are distorted, they are predictors that, you know, some kind of speculations are likely to arise from that region, or at say later stages, this can grow to a proper cancer, or metastasis can start over here. So certainly, if this category of masses or tumors are detected with clarity, the edges are detected with sharpness, you know, and the say classifier stage can classify and, you know, detect this particular category, just not being just saying that beyond you know, just saying that something is benign and malignant. Say if this third category is being detected, then that is certainly, you know, possible with you know, advanced image processing techniques. Then certainly you can say more accuracy can be achieved with the computer-aided diagnosis, or you can say that you know, early detection of breast cancer could be possible. Now, not just this. This is, you know, one type of anomalies or masses that we have talked about or discussed about. Now, if you see this particular section of a mammography image now, generally we get an idea, say this is a cluster of tissues over there. Somebody can, you know, misinterpret that, say some masses or lesion is available over there. But I'll show you now a more focused view of this particular region. So if you see this particular region in a more focused view, what you see over here, there are tiny dots of calcium deposits, or white tiny dots over there. These are certainly known as microcalcifications, and say this is, you know, a literally smaller version of the lesions, and again a very hard to detect kind of a thing on the mammograms because of, you know, their minute sizes. But yet these are, you know, the most primary or the early predictors of the breast cancer. So certainly what happens that these tiny calcifications are currently available in the form of tiny scattered calcium dots. Say after progression of time, these calcium dots or these calcium deposits get clustered, and maybe at later stage, this clustering may cause or convert it to a fully grown tumor. But generally in the early stage, these calcifications are hidden or obscured within the normal breast region. So again, problem in detection of masses is their variety and subtlety. Now, if we say get rid of the, say, detection problem of masses, there is another problem of visualization over here, that is the microcalcifications. So you can see it more closely that these are your scattered calcifications, right? And over here, these scattered calcifications have clustered to form a microcalcification cluster. But certainly if we are able to detect this cluster in a clear way from the mammographic images, this detection will become much easier from a younger woman. So now another challenge or another area which requires attention for research is that if you check back literature on, say, detection of microcalcifications, you get a lot of papers over there. But certainly, again, most of the papers over there are focusing towards detection, or say diagnosis of these calcifications with the help of the classification approaches. But again, very few works you will see over there which are published, or say which are fairly good works, which are focusing towards visualization of these microcalcifications. And or rarely when you see or read literature on this particular domain, very few illustrations or few examples are shown over there, because literally it happens that, very rare algorithms are available which could, visualize these calcifications. So again, focusing upon early detection of this particular cancer, visualization of microcalcifications is much also a advanced and a challenging stage for, working upon as a research problem. So the impact is that mammograms analysis is complex. So because of this, there is difficulty by the radiologist to analyze it. There is higher incidence of unnecessary biopsies because at times it happens. Certain benign cases are being referred for biopsies, which is, a very, very painful procedure. And again, at times, sometimes because of the biopsy, benign tumor can get, tampered, can get hit, or, it can be converted to, or it can lead to malignancy also. So that is why, accuracy in prediction of these type of cancers is a much challenge. And therefore, there is a die-hard need of a proper and accurate computer-aided diagnosis tool. So our focus is computer-aided analysis of mammograms over here. We are not going till the diagnosis stage. The focus will be on computer-aided analysis. And when we say computer-aided analysis, it means we are just providing a better image to the radiologist or the medical expert to supplement their decision or to have their decision with much more accuracy. So generally, what we are doing in computer-aided analysis is to identify or mark the breast anomalies. You are recognizing or localizing the suspicious region of interest, right? It is acting as a second opinion device. And over here, mammographic image enhancement is a major module which plays the primary role, because until and unless you have a very good enhancement tool for these mammographic images, certainly this entire exercise goes futile. So coming to the enhancement challenges as we focus upon these mammographic images. So if we talk about image enhancement, we come up with a very initial definition of image contrast, that this is the difference between the maximum and the minimum pixel intensity of an image. So just remember this definition, because we'll be recalling this particular definition at a later stage, that image contrast is defined as the difference between the maximum and the minimum pixel intensity of the image. And certainly this has been, the foremost or conventional definition which has been given by the Michelson. So you can see there is one image which is a low contrast image, and after contrast improvement or enhancement, you get a high contrast image. Similarly, another aspect of image enhancement is that if you see these two images, compared to this particular images, you have sharper boundaries over here, right? Better edges are there. So beyond contrast improvement, there is another requirement or expectation from enhancement is to have edge enhancement just to yield these images with proper amount of sharpening, right? So image enhancement is therefore entailing those operations that improve the visual appearance of the image. But here we are focusing upon two aspects in parallel. One is to improve the contrast and another is to improve the sharpening as well, because we want contrast improvement for our tumor region, and we also want sharpening from the point of view that the edges or boundaries of the tumor should be sharper. Now, this particular enhancement which we do is two-folded. Once we do enhancement so that better features can be extracted from a machine vision operations, and then the results may be fed to a classifier. Another thing, we do enhancement for a human observer, say for a doctor or a medical expert, so that the doctor or the expert can give diagnostic decisions. Now, one very important aspect, which is generally less awareness is there, that is image enhancement and HVS. Now, when we define HVS, it means human visual system. So when we are enhancing the image, the enhancement should not just focus upon, say, the visual attributes, but the focus should be that the response or the visual response should be in correlation with the human visual system, because ultimately you have a human viewer, a doctor or a medical expert, which is going to visualize these images. So certainly a very fundamental concept is involved over here, that what happens if we focus upon the image formation model of the human eye, that how image is formed on the retina, or say how the image is being formed on the display screens, we'll come to know that the variation function for the intensity or the pixels are actually logarithmic functions when we are talking about this human responses. So this gives a very common indicator that if we want image enhancement, that it should improve the images from a human vision point of view, there has to be some type of non-linearity in the operation, because ultimately our vision, our eyes, is following a non-linear kind of a paradigm. So that is why it is necessary, or it becomes a requirement, that non-linear enhancement algorithms are giving you better results as far as specifically your medical images are concerned. So from here, we'll take this important feeder that we'll be focusing upon non-linear enhancement algorithms. Now, another thing, if we talk about a conventional image enhancement algorithm, now it may not give very satisfactory performance with respect to the medical images, because what happens that if you talk about mammograms or medical images, there is a great variety in these images. The images are varying with respect to the background. So certainly, a single type of algorithm may not, without any tunability, it may not give a very good result over there. Secondly, another prominent problem with these conventional image processing algorithms, because they cannot be directly applied to the medical images, or if applied to those medical images, the results are not very, very promising. So the reason is that during enhancement, when they are enhancing the pixels, what happens? The noise component is also enhanced in those images. I'll show you a visualization for this later on. So because of that, you have improved the contrast, but certainly it has affected the signal to noise ratio of that particular image. So mathematically, these medical image enhancement techniques are aiming to realize a better visual quality of these images, right? So that these diagnostic features are clearly visible, and also the morphological changes could be evaluated. So when we say morphological changes, it means the changes which are pertaining to the edges of the tumor primarily. So if we see over here, this is one original mammogram image and say, if we have enhanced these with conventional image processing algorithms, we see that the images are quite similar and not much change is visualized in these images from a visual point of view of the detection. So if we focus upon that, what should be the requirement of a mammogram enhancement algorithm here, it is necessary that it should improve the contrast of your region of interest, that is, the tumor region in the foreground with respect to the background. And also it should sharpen the lesion image. So your mammographic image enhancement is focusing upon two attributes over here. That is the contrast enhancement of ROI, right? But that ROI, is to be considered with respect to a limited background only, not the entire image. And secondly, the lesion edges should be sharpened. So if we see this as a particular mammographic image, so this is the region of interest that we are considering. So over here, if you see, these are the conventional response of these enhancement algorithms. And if you see this particular image, so this is the kind of the particular image, which is, a more desirable image from the point of view of mammogram enhancement. Because what has happened, the contrast of the tumor region you can see is improved now. And secondly, you can also see that the lesion edges are also sharply visualized. So the lesion edges have sharpened. Secondly, this lesion region or the tumor region has been improved in contrast. And one more thing which is to be visualized here is that for improving the contrast, right? If you focus more upon enhancing the contrast, it may become over white, or you can say over brightness could be there. So another remedy for this is you start suppressing the background of the image. You can see in comparison to this, that in this particular image, the background is suppressed. So once the background gave suppressed, then your tumor or the lesion region in the foreground gets more focused, right? So this is, the desirable image for mammographic image enhancement. So once this type of enhancement is being attained, one can overcome the spatial non-uniformities in the detector response. So certainly, we know that you cannot do anything about the mammography X-ray detector. So whatever are the ailments of that particular acquisition system, they can be, overcome with this kind of a enhancement algorithm. And definitely this is coupled with improvement of contrast and also improvement in the spatial resolution of the image. So when we say mammogram enhancement over here, we say that the contrast and the edges both should be enhanced. Now, as I told you that if we want to, try to enhance a particular region beyond a particular limit, this is what the problem comes, that is over enhancement. And over enhancement is what this is known as the amplification of unwanted noise. So you have tried to enhance that particular image beyond a particular limit. And what happens that it has got over amplified noise in comparison to the contrast, and literally you see at a non-promising visual responses there. Another thing. Now suppose you have some noise on these kind of images, right? And if you try to, apply some conventional algorithms over there, say you get this type of an image. So the noise is removed, but if you see or compare these two images together, now that this image appears to be blurred. So when we say blurred means instead of sharpening, the sharpening has been reduced over there in these particular images. So this becomes another challenge in these images. So we collectively, if you combine these 2 points over here, we say that there always exists a compromise between noise smoothing and contrast enhancement, right? So what happens if we try to improve the contrast beyond a particular point, over enhancement could be there. So noise is introduced over there, resulting in a low signal to noise ratio. And now in a perspective to, reduce that noise, what you can affect the sharpness of that particular image. So what is important over here is that you need to enhance the contrast, you need to enhance the edges, sharpen the details, and what is important that the noise smoothing should be also there. So mammogram enhancement is combination of your contrast enhancement and edge enhancement, but some way there has to be noise smoothing. Otherwise, the desired response is not attained. So this 2 trade-offs which we have discussed right now, I would like to just show them visually. If you see, this is the first trade-off, which is known as the contrast enhancement constraint, that in a view to improve the contrast beyond a particular limit, what has been attained, say over brightening of this region, or what you term as over enhancement. That means the noise has increased. Now suppose we try to remove this particular noise, then what happens? Say blurring is obtained. So this is the edge enhancement constraint. So with this, by studying these 2 constraints, we arrive to a very, very, refined definition of mammogram enhancement, and which says that your mammogram enhancement should be noise controlled contrast and edge enhancement. So you have to enhance the contrast and edges, but that has to be noise controlled. Otherwise, your output will suffer from at least one or either one of these 2 problems. So this challenge has to be taken care while working upon a mammogram enhancement problem. Another thing is that detection of calcifications is again a difficult task, because if you see this region, hardly anyone can perceive that anything is present over there. So if you see a very closer look over here, certainly some tiny spots are visible over there. These tiny spots are visible over there. Again, they are very less visible in the ordinary image. So these are your misidentified microcalcification. Now here is what, if you apply a conventional image processing algorithm over here, again, these calcifications are not properly visible. And now again, if you try to over brighten or over enhance these images, again, you see this over enhancement or noise has been introduced in these images. Now, after this, there is one very, very important challenge when you talk about these medical images, and that is known as the image restoration challenge. Now, this should be, very much focused, because many people treat these medical images as, one of the ordinary image processing works, or they treat them with, one of those ordinary image processing algorithms. So just have a look what I mean to explain with this kind of a challenge. Suppose, see, we have this original image over here. This is the noisy image, because say some noise is superimposed over there. And then you see that this is the restored image, say after application of some type of a filter. So now, if we have to check upon the quality of this image, I have a very good remedy that I'll go and I'll compare this with the original image. So with this, I get to know that this image is yet more inferior in quality, it needs more improvement so as to, reach the same quality in which the original image was. Certainly, this can be done in a very, very simple way when your ordinary images are concerned. Now, just have a look at these two images. Say, the first one is our original mammogram, say, which is acquired. Say the second one is the one which is enhanced. Now, one was the original one, which was poor in quality. Second one, we say that we have enhanced it. So say certainly it is better in quality, but see the problem. What I'm going to compare this to, because I don't have a original image or an ideal image available to compare the quality of this image, because certainly if I am going to compare it with this image, this is actually a low quality image which is present over there. So comparing my enhancement result to the original image over here is certainly not going to give me a very, very proper result, because I'm trying to compare a better image with a poor image. So an ideal reference is, kind of missing when you are dealing with these medical images. This is a big, big problem, not just in, visualization, in development of the enhancement algorithms, but this is also a big challenge when you are talking about these image quality assessment algorithms, because quality assessment equally becomes a challenge in such images because of the lack of a good or an ideal reference image. Now coming to the different types of mammogram enhancement approaches. So these are the very common image processing and approaches or enhancement approaches which we have studied so far in image processing. Histogram based approach, unsharp masking approach, non-linear filters, or multi-resolution processing with wavelets and controllers. Now, I just quickly show you few research problem development tasks. So what I'll do over here, I take a problem from the scratch and let you mold and develop a thinking that how a conventional, kind of a algorithm can be modified to have, can be modified to yield a better and an improved algorithm. So, a thought process has to develop over here that, people say that, oh, this histogram approach is a very, very conventional approach. Unsharp masking is a fundamental approach which is given in the book, right? So people just go and jump upon the latest or the advancements which are being made over there and diverting them from the true fundamentals. So I just give you a step-by-step example over here to demonstrate that certainly a fundamental approach like histogram equalization can be developed to treat a medical image in a very, very good way. So I'll be focusing the first technique over here, that is the histogram based approach. So as you all must be knowing, all those who are having fundamentals of image processing, they must be knowing that if you have an image, this is how our image histogram looks like, where you are having, this is a kind of a frequency distribution kind of a thing, that how many pixels of a type are being available in how many numbers. So this is a kind of a image histogram. So image histogram is actually trying to give you the nature of that particular image. So if you see that this particular image is a very bright image, so you see that the histogram is focused towards the extreme end, considering, say, this is the 0 and this is the 1. So if the histogram is focused towards 0, that means we say that it is a very dark image. If the histogram is focused towards the 1, we say that it is a very, very bright image, right? But if we want to have a good contrast image, the requirement is that histogram should be, somewhat equally distributed for the entire image. So this is what the task which is being done by a histogram equalizer, that say if you have a low contrast image, the histogram is like this. And if we want to improve the contrast with the histogram equalizer, what it has done, it has spread the histogram of that particular image. That means the pixels are, or the pixel values are now uniformly distributed, making or giving a better visual response to the image. Now, this is how a medical image after histogram equalization looks like. So what you see, that this particular area, which was initially dark, has now got fairly visualized when histogram equalization has been applied over there. So this is how histogram equalization has been done over here. So now let's understand first that how this histogram equalization works, because we are just not to focus upon that histogram equalization function which is being directly given in MATLAB or Python library, right? We have to, certain think upon it, that how it operates. So if you go back to the mathematical analysis of histogram equalization, it shows that there is a kind of a transformation function over there, which is present at the back end. So at the back end, how histogram equalization works, there is a non-linear transformation function, transfer function, which is available there. So what happens? The low contrast image, the low contrast histogram is given as input to this transfer function, and this transfer function spreads the histogram and returns it to you, yielding you a better contrast or a bright image you are receiving from it. This is how histogram equalization is operating. So definitely we see that some of the lost content, that was the dark content, has been improved with histogram equalization. So if we try to visualize it mathematically, let us see what happens. So this transformation function with which the histogram equalization works is your common function, common nonlinear function, which is known as a sigmoidal function, that S curve, right, which is equivalent to 1 upon 1 plus e to the power minus x. So this is the transformation function for histogram equalization, right? And this is very well represented with the sigmoidal function. So over here, this type of a function has two mathematical requirements if we focus. One, the function has to be single valued, and second, it has to be monotonically increasing. Now, these are two mathematical requirements. Later on, I link it that how these two requirements are being linked to your image processing. So this function has these two particular requirements. Now, once this particular equalization is applied, there are certain challenges also. What is happening? It is evenly distributing the brightness of these images, which is leading to over enhancement. And we have studied right now that over enhancement is actually being referred to as noise, right? So since it is enhancing all the pixels in a very, very uniform way, we see that the image is looking unclear over here. So if we see over here, say this is your original image and this is histogram equalization is applied, maybe the entire image is not looking very, very pleasant. Similarly, if we go for, say, another version of histogram equalization, the another version of histogram equalization is adaptive histogram equalization. So where you try to control the parameters of histogram equalization. But again, if you see that, this is your original image, this is the response of histogram equalization, then this is the response of adaptive histogram equalization. And based on the concepts that I gave till now, you can see that this image is having more or higher degree of over enhancement, right? Some amount of over enhancement is reduced over there, but ultimately this image is not very, very pleasant from the point of view of the visualization. So again, adaptive histogram equalization, when it is being applied to your medical images, again, it is not giving you very good results. So now there is a requirement that you need to improve adaptive histogram equalization if you want to apply them for, say, this category of images, that is mammograms. So this is how we have selected this as a research problem, that I want to improve very conventional adaptive histogram equalization so that, you know, it can be accustomed for application to the mammographic images. Now, how we going to improve adaptive histogram equalization? The food of thought is the conventional function which is used over here is a nonlinear function, right? The sigmoidal function. So certainly we may think upon it that if we think upon changing that transformation function in such a way that it accommodates our requirements of medical images, we may get a better response with that new transformation function which is working on the background. But we have to do so without, you know, disturbing the science or disturbing the concepts of the conventional, you know, histogram equalization. So the basic requirements were, it was a nonlinear function. So again, your transformation function should be nonlinear when you are improving it. Secondly, it has to be single valued. That was the basic requirement for that equalization. Thirdly, it has to be a monotonically increasing function. So whatever function we are replacing over here, that has to be nonlinear, monotonically increasing, and it has to be single valued. So certainly mathematically that function should satisfy these three requirements. So if you see that this is how the plot of a sigmoidal function looks like, and it is a continuous function and a monotonically increasing function. Now, this is the requirements, what I have told right now, that first of all, this has to be a single valued function. Once we say that it has to be a single valued function, it is necessary because the inverse transformation could be possible for that image. Once we say that it has a monotonicity condition, it means there is a gradual incrementing visualization of pixels when you are moving from black to white region. So certainly, if a function is not monotonically increasing, you're not going to get a pleasant visual response from those images. So say this is the kind of a nonlinear function which is required for adaptive histogram equalization. And if you just see it in a more focused way, you see that this is one sigmoidal function. This is another sigmoidal function. Only what has been done over here is that this particular combination has been done over here so that, you know, a kind of threshold has been created, right? This is how, you know, these two functions are being combined when it looks like a adaptive histogram equalization function. So basic requirement should be fulfilled over here, that it has to be a continuous function, it has to be a monotonically increasing function, and say this we can achieve if we are, say, superposing two types of sigmoidal functions. So this is the new transformation function, say, which we are introducing, say, by combining two sigmoidal functions. The approach or the idea is that by this combination, we have created this region. So this is your threshold region. And what does this threshold try to do? This threshold creates a boundary that below this particular region, whatever pixels are there, right, they need not to be enhanced. Only, the whatever pixels which are below that particular threshold, they have to be enhanced. And whatever pixels which are, you know, above this particular threshold may not be enhanced. Why? Because this may cause over enhancement or over brightening. So certainly this thresholding is trying to control that over brightening of the images, which was being done by the traditional or conventional histogram equalization. So this is how, you know, this function looks like. So this is one sigmoidal function. There is another sigmoidal function. This has been combined, right? And you can notice that there are two parameters which are introduced over there. One is K and another B, right? K is set to control the rate of enhancement and B is set to control the rate of threshold over here. And there is A, which is another factor that is known as the adaptive gain factor, which is being given by this particular thing. So how we have done? We have seen the basic requirement of histogram equalization. We have seen the basic requirement of adaptive histogram equalization, which we want to do, right? And that same operation we have tried to, achieve by combining two sigmoidal functions together. So this is a kind of a function that we have developed over here, right? So now, once this function is developed, now we want to apply this function to the mammographic images. So in the lecture of Dr. Sayali day before yesterday, all those who would be present, she has talked about the mammographic analysis research repository. These are the different types of mammogram databases which are present. This is the mini MIS database, DDSM database, or the B-screen databases. The information of these databases can be available from this particular web link. So now I'll be showing the results on the images from this MIS particular database, right? And basic pre-processing which is being done over here is only normalization and cropping, nothing more. So once we are, ready with applying this particular algorithm to the mammogram images, what is important is that we need to have some image quality parameters also, which is to be applied so that the quality of those images can be ascertained. And that is that one is contrast difference, right? So contrast is calculated by F max minus F minimum. Remember, I talked about the Michelson's contrast formula, where contrast is difference between the maximum and the minimum pixel levels. So this is how you are computing the contrast for one image. Then you compute the contrast for another image, and then the absolute subtraction between the two is giving you contrast difference. Another is peak signal to noise ratio in decibels, which is another known factor. So one factor CD you are taking in so that you can measure the improvement in contrast. Why we are calculating peak signal to noise ratio is just to ascertain that during the contrast enhancement, is the noise increasing or is the noise decreasing over there, right? So we are calculating these two parameters. And if we see the comparison of these obtained values, say we had one existing approach that is known as adaptive histogram equalization. And this is the one which we have proposed by improving the transformation function behind adaptive histogram equalization. And you see that there is increments in the value of signal to noise ratio, and there is also increment in the value of the contrast difference. So which gives us a background thought that certainly this particular enhancement approach is working well on these images. Now, once we have some preliminary results, say we have applied these results, these algorithm, this new nonlinear algorithm on our mammogram. So if you see, this is our original region of interest, and this is the region of interest that you are getting after enhancement. But what we see over here, this image is okay, but it is not that good enough as per the responses that I have shown you there. See another example. You see the original region of interest, you see the enhanced one. Difference is there, but not much visual contribution has been made to the images. So certainly there is some problem. So at this point of stage, when this problem was being woken up by me, so there was a reiterative kind of a thing that there is certainly something which has gone wrong, because this tested nonlinear function is not giving good results on the images, but ultimately it is giving you good results on the parameters. So what is certainly missing is tuning of parameters. So if you remember, in that particular function, transfer function, you had two parameters. One was K, that was your contrast, rate of contrast enhancement factor. And one was B, that was known as the control for threshold parameter. So certainly, maybe we are applying those algorithms with some manually selected values of K and B, which are not very well giving you results. But if we say do some kind of a tuning and say if we try to find a range, say suppose this threshold parameter is having a peak over here. So that means say a value of the threshold parameter between 0.8 and 1 may give you very good result. If you see that this rate of enhancement is having a peak over here, so that means certainly the value of this parameters between 5 to 10 may give you good result. So when this kind of a parameter tuning has been performed, then say we have come up with this kind of a analysis. Since we have a complete database, we applied it on every type of mammograms, say fatty mammograms, glandular mammograms, and dense mammograms, and we see that say the value of K and the value of B is different on each type of mammogram. So that means with the change in the background of the image, there is a change in the enhancement function, there is a change in the threshold function, and certainly then only you're going to get a good result over there. So with this kind of a changed value of parameters, again that same algorithm is applied and say this is how we are getting the results. So if you see that this is the original one, response of histogram equalization, adaptive histogram equalization, and this is the proposed response. So if you see, certainly this image is improved in comparison to the original image, and it is also overcoming the ailments of your histogram equalization and adaptive histogram equalization. Now, again, once this algorithm is applied, say with these change parameters, now we have again tested it with our IQA parameters. Now what we see, again we have calculated PSNR and CD at both the places. But there is again a problem. If you see here, the PSNR is 54. Now the PSNR has gone down to 10. Here the PSNR is 55. Now the PSNR has gone down to 22. If you see the value of the contrast difference, it is increased, but not by a huge amount. So now another problem. Earlier, values were good. Image quality assessment values were good, but the visual results were not good. Now you have tuned the parameters, visual results have improved, but now the parameters are not giving you good results. Certainly, you have not chosen the right parameters, maybe. So at times it happens, I mean, you should learn from this experience that we try to just run around with our conventional parameters, but at times when you are working on advanced paradigms, maybe those conventional parameters are not being used or not being proclaimed as a good tool for assessing that particular image. So here I talk about one more or modified image quality assessment tool that is known as contrast improvement index. Now, if you see this particular formula, this formula looks very similar to the formula of contrast which you have seen over there, right? But there is a difference. There you have talked about that contrast is the difference of maximum and minimum pixel intensities in an image. Here also it is the difference, but not of the maximum and minimum, but it says that this is the difference of average gray level values in the foreground and background of the image. Because please mind it that when you are talking about mammogram or when you are talking about a medical image, we are only concerned with the region of interest and its immediate background. We are not concerned with the whole image. So if you are not concerned with the whole image, that means why should we take the minimum and maximum parameters of those pixel values? So when we say F over here, we mean the average gray level values of the foreground. And when we say B over there, we say the average gray level values of the background. And when we do this kind of a parameter work, this is going to give you a very alarming results in the form of contrast improvement index, because this particular formula is the improvement to your contrast formula, which is being done by the Morrow. So this is known as the Morrow's formula for your contrast. And this is actually known as the condition of or concept of simultaneous contrast. So if you see over here that simultaneous contrast means the foreground region is constant in the three images. But if you see when the background is most suppressed, the visualization becomes the best. So if you remember my line, when I was defining mammogram enhancement or medical image enhancement, I mentioned that you need to improve the contrast of the foreground region with respect to the background. But at times it happens that in the urge to increase the contrast of the foreground, we introduced over brightness. So it is better not to increase the contrast much of the foreground, but to suppress the background. So if you suppress the background much, at times visualization is improved. So once contrast improvement index is being used as a parameter, now you see that the proposed method has given you nearly very good results or very good increments with the in comparison to the other approaches. If you see, CII values are negative with histogram equalization and adaptive histogram equalization, which shows that there is poor equalization or poor visualization with respect to the background. But see that these values are much, much improved when you are applying it to the results of our new enhancement function. So contrast improvement index is a very, very valued parameter when it is used for contrast enhancement, contrast assessment with respect to the medical images. Yet, I mean, the conventional parameters may be good enough for conventional image processing or algorithms, but they may not assess fairly well the response of your, say, medical images. So this is just a comparative graph. So what we infer over here is that this new function is giving you good response on the masses. It is controlling over enhancement and under enhancement over here. And as far as the response of mammographic masses is concerned, your responses are very much improved, right? Now, let's talk about one more improvement to this research problem. We have changed the transformation function of adaptive histogram equalization. We have got okay results, good results over there. Now, if you remember, there is one scope of improvement over there. Scope of improvement is this, that right now, when we have done tuning to obtain the range of values of K and B, it has been done by the manual tuning. That means you keep on tuning the algorithms and then you plot the graphs and you get the results. But certainly, if some optimization algorithm is applied over there to control the value of K and B, certainly the results could be improved. So this is another problem, another way in which this research problem can be improved is that, say you have a similar transformation function, and what you are supposed to do is you have to attain or achieve the optimized values of K and B, say using some type of optimization algorithm, say which is a multi-objective optimization or a genetic algorithm. In this particular case, which I am showing you, this is the results or this is the methodology which my scholar has recently applied. And this particular work, I mean, this particular results are very, very, novel, which have been obtained. And just in the first week of October only, this particular paper has been accepted for publication in IEEE Census Journal, where you can say what an S-curve transformation based function, which has been optimized with multi-objective optimization or genetic algorithm. So this S-shaped transfer function is the transfer function of the histogram equalization, which has been optimized and applied to the mammographic images. This is our recent work, which has been say published in IEEE Census Journal. Just last month only it has been accepted, right? So Pranav sir, do we have time or shall we wrap up?
Yes, sir, we can wrap up. And we have the question answer session. Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, that's we can pause here for further queries with the and then we can wrap up the session because I don't think we have much time to take up another research problem from here.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I request Dr. Santosh Vagat sir to continue with the question answer session.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Myself, Dr. S.C. Vagat,
Yes.
ENTC Department, JSPMC Rajarshi Shaw College of Engineering.
Okay.
Sir, one question from audience is,
Yeah.
as we know, 100% accuracy is required in medical treatment. Does
Mhm.
artificial intelligence gives 100% accuracy in diagnosis or
percent accuracy, but until and unless those responses are correlated with that of say a medical person, I mean it's has no meaning.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Hmm.
Okay. Uh, Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, sir, only one question. Yes.
Huh?
Only one question, sir.
Huh? Okay.
Okay, thank you,
So,
sir.
huh?
Good afternoon, one and all. I, Dr. S.C. August, on behalf of Rajarshi Shaw College of Engineering, Kathodi, Pune, extends a very hearty vote of thanks to dynamic personality Dr. Vikrant Bhateja for sharing his valuable thoughts. Sir, thank you very much for exploring computer-aided analysis of medical images, image filtering, mammographic image analysis, breast cancer detection using image processing, then after that, optimizations of the for mammogram enhancements. This
Okay.
session
So
has given, hi sir.
just a moment, I would just take to wrap up the session in a minute, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
Uh, just a last word that for continued study, this is my very old publication of 2013, that is Robust Polynomial Filtering Framework for Mammographic Image Enhancement. So if there are any beginners to start study in this domain, this is the most preferred paper that they can start and working upon if they have got some information from my session. Further, I'm thankful for my collaborators. These are my collaborators from different overseas universities with whom I have worked upon, say in this domain of medical images. And these are the panel of say doctors and radiologists who have been with me as a medical advisory while working. Secondly, just for information to the audience, there is a journal by the name of Soft Computing, where there is a current special issue which is on for soft computing in defense system methods and applications. So the closing deadline for papers in this particular special issue is towards January. So if anybody who want to have some work, which is focusing in the domain of soft computing for particular defense systems, they can submit it. I'm there in the editorial board in this particular one. Secondly, there is another special issue, which is again targeting papers in January. This is Springer's Journal of Complex and Intelligent Systems. And the theme is Swarm and Evolutionary Intelligence for Healthcare Applications. So if anyone is working in this domain or want to make some submission, this is a good enough portal for their submission. Anybody who is working in the field of AI and COVID-19, there is a special issue where again I'm in the editorial board for Arabian Journal for Science and Engineering. And there is another journal by the name of Recent Patents on Engineering. Here I am section editor, and this is a good Scopus Index journal, which is accepting papers from almost all disciplines of engineering. One more journal where I am looking after as EIC. This is the International Journal of Natural Computing and Research. This is a ACM and DBLP Index Journal, a 10 years old journal, where again, any submissions which are, focusing towards intelligent computing approach can be submitted. So just I have given this information for the general information of the audience. And thank you so much for your time. And for any further queries, I may be contacted at this particular email address. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Any announcement? Pranav, sir.
Yes, sir. Bisikar ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we'll return again on Monday, right?
Yeah. Monday, 10 a.m.
10 a.m. Okay. So participants, please rejoin on coming Monday. And shall I end the meeting, ma'am?